Alright guys, Donald Trump blames the internet and video games for the the acts and stuff. Play it.
This weekend, more than 80 people were killed or wounded in two evil attacks. One Saturday morning in El Paso, Texas,
80 people.
a wicked man went to a Walmart store where families were shopping with their loved ones. He shot and murdered 20 people and injured 26 others, including precious little children. Then, in the early hours of Sunday morning, Dayton, Ohio, another twisted monster opened fire on a crowded downtown street. He murdered 9 people, including his own sister, and injured 27 others. The First Lady and I join all Americans in praying and grieving for the victims, their families, and the survivors. We will stand by their side forever. We will never forget. These barbaric slaughters are an assault upon our communities.
It says live at Washington, but I couldn't fit all the thing in, or the information thing.
Outraged and sickened by this monstrous evil, the cruelty, the hatred, the malice, the bloodshed, and the terror. Our hearts are shattered for every family whose parents, children, husbands, and wives were ripped from their arms and their lives. America weeps for the fallen. We are a loving nation, and our children are entitled to grow up in a just, peaceful, and loving society. Together, we lock arms to shoulder the grief. We ask God in heaven to ease the anguish of those who suffer, and we vow to act with urgent resolve. I want to thank the many law enforcement personnel who responded to these atrocities with the extraordinary grace and courage of American heroes. I have spoken with Texas Governor Greg Abbott and Ohio Governor Mike DeWine, as well as Mayor DeMargo of El Paso, Texas, and Mayor Nan Whaley of Dayton, Ohio, to express our profound sadness and unfailing support. Today, we also send the condolences of our nation to President Obrador of Mexico and all the people of Mexico for the loss of their citizens in the El Paso shooting. Terrible, terrible thing. I have also been in close contact with Attorney General Barr and FBI Director Wray. Federal authorities are on the ground, and I have directed them to provide any and all assistance required, whatever is needed. The shooter in El Paso posted a manifesto online consumed by racist hate. In one voice, our nation must condemn racism, bigotry, and white supremacy. These sinister ideologies must be defeated. Hate has no place in America. Hatred warps the mind, ravages the heart, and devours the soul. We have asked the FBI to identify all further resources they need to investigate and disrupt hate crimes and domestic terrorism, whatever they need. We must recognize that the internet has provided a dangerous avenue to radicalize disturbed minds and perform demented acts. We must shine light on the dark recesses of the internet and stop mass murders before they start. The internet likewise is used for human trafficking, illegal drug distribution, and so many other heinous crimes. The perils of the internet and social media cannot be ignored, and they will not be ignored. In the 2 decades since Columbine, our nation has watched with rising horror and dread as one mass shooting has followed another. Over and over again, decade after decade. We cannot allow ourselves to feel powerless. We can and will stop this evil contagion. In that task, we must honor the sacred memory of those we have lost by acting as one people. Open wounds cannot heal if we are divided. We must seek real bipartisan solutions. We have to do that in a bipartisan manner that will truly make America safer and better for all. First, we must do a better job of identifying and acting on early warning signs. I am directing the Department of Justice to work in partisan partnership with local, state, and federal agencies, as well as social media companies, to develop tools that can detect mass shooters before they strike. As an example, the monster in the Parkland High School in Florida had many red flags against him, and yet nobody took decisive action. Nobody did anything. Why not? Second, we must stop the glorification of violence in our society. This includes the gruesome and grisly video games that are now commonplace. It is too easy today for troubled youth to surround themselves with a culture that celebrates violence. We must stop or substantially reduce this, and it has to begin immediately. Cultural change is hard, but each of us can choose to build a culture that celebrates the inherent worth and dignity of every human life. That's what we have to do. Third, we must reform our mental health laws to better identify mentally disturbed individuals who may commit acts of violence and make sure those people not only get treatment, but when necessary, involuntary confinement. Mental illness and hatred pulls the trigger, not the gun. Fourth, we must make sure that those judged to pose a grave risk to public safety do not have access to firearms, and that if they do, those firearms can be taken through rapid due process. That is why I have called for red flag laws, also known as extreme risk protection orders. Today, I'm also directing the Department of Justice to propose legislation ensuring that those who commit hate crimes and mass murders face the death penalty, and that this capital punishment be delivered quickly, decisively, and without years of needless delay. These are just a few of the areas of cooperation that we can pursue. I am open and ready to listen and discuss all ideas that will actually work and make a very big difference. Republicans and Democrats have proven that we can join together in a bipartisan fashion to address this plague. Last year, we enacted the Stop School Violence and Fix NICS Acts into law, providing grants to improve school safety and strengthening critical background checks for firearm purchases. At my direction, the Department of Justice banned bump stocks. Last year, we prosecuted a record number of firearms offenses. But there is so much more that we have to do. Now is the time to set destructive partisanship aside, so destructive, and find the courage to answer hatred with unity, devotion, and love. Our future is in our control. America will rise to the challenge. We will always have, and we always will, win. The choice is ours, and ours alone. It is not up to mentally ill monsters. It is up to us. If we are able to pass great legislation after all of these years, we will ensure that those who were attacked will not have died in vain. May God bless the memory of those who perished in Toledo. May God protect them. May God protect all of those from Texas to Ohio. May God bless the victims and their families. May God bless America. Thank you very much. Thank you.
There was a lot of pain there from Donald Trump speaking about that. I mean, Not anybody wants to see their family members go through that sort of pain. Not anyone. It's ridiculous that people have to go through that in life and feel the pain. We all get annoyed and angry in the world, but let's give people the right to do what they did on that shooting in El Paso in America. It's disgraceful.
It's an extremely precise operation, removing a tumour from the brain of a 9-year-old child. The surgeons at Adam Brooks Hospital in Cambridge saving lives every day. But it's the NHS itself that has increasingly complex needs. This is where that young patient will be brought to recover. It's a cramped, noisy ward.
There's just no breathing space at all. And you're in each other's faces a lot, and it is cramped.
The staff are working in a hospital, crying out for improvements.
There is one parent toilet, one parent shower that they share. So in any one day, there could be 44 parents using that one facility.
Another parent had a clear message for the government.
They need to open their eyes. They need to come into places like this and see what these guys do and what they give and what a difference they make.
But this hospital will not be getting any of the £1.8 billion announced by the government today. That funding is aimed at upgrading 20 hospitals in England. £850 million to improve resources, another £1 billion to go towards NHS capital spending. However, the Nuffield Trust, an independent think tank, says hospitals need around £6 billion for improvements. There are plans to build a new children's hospital here. The Health Secretary has promised £100 million towards one, but the Trust needs more than double that amount.
You're not happy about the conditions those parents and children are in?
No, I acutely feel that the conditions in which patients, their young children, under very traumatic and difficult conditions, parents who are very stressed and rightly stressed as a result, we're not providing them with the kind of facilities that I would want or they would require.
The extra funding promised today is only a tiny fraction of the annual NHS budget, but this is a new Prime Minister trying to grab the attention.
I've said that my job is to make sure that we use the funds that go into the NHS to reduce the time you wait to see your GP, the time you wait in A&E, and that's why we're doing it today.
But it'll take much more money and many more promises to help patients by treating the condition of the NHS itself.
What can I say about that? Nothing to say much about.
Rosie was 27 years old, confident and independent, but when friends and family started to hear rumours about her new boyfriend, they urged her to find out more.
Just from looking at him, I just didn't like him. The minute I met him, I didn't like him.
Benjamin Topping had been seeing Rosie for just a few days when she applied under legislation known as Clare's Law for details of his criminal history. Lancashire police were allowed 35 days to get back to her. Rosie never received the information because her new partner killed her, and it was only then that his past came to light.
He was on bail for GBH. He had previous offences of violence, including other males, a lot to do with when he was drinking alcohol. A lot was drink-fuelled, a lot was drug-fuelled, but there was a lot of violent offences. Like he'd had a suspended sentence, he'd broke somebody's jaw.
The domestic violence disclosure scheme known as Clare's Law was introduced in England and Wales in 2014. It allows people to ask the police if their partner has a history of domestic violence. Police forces have 35 days in which to respond to requests. The latest figures show nearly 90 applications are made each week, of which around 44% result in a disclosure. Clare's Law was named after Michael's daughter, Claire Wood. She was killed by a violent and obsessive ex-partner.
Good afternoon. I'm Alice.
Today he met Rosie's family to discuss their campaign. They want to reduce the amount of time given to police to make their disclosures.
Without 35 days, they should have been able to say, I'll give you back to you in 48 hours with an answer.
The Home Office says it's working with police to improve the way the domestic violence disclosure scheme is used, but Rosie's family are in no doubt. If she'd known about her boyfriend's past, she would still be alive today. Damon Green, ITV News in Lancashire.
The world is such a crazy place at times. North Korea fires a missile, third time.
North Korea fires missiles for third time in 8 days. North Korea has fired its missiles into the Sea of Japan yet again. According to a statement from South Korea's Joint Chiefs of Staff, North Korea has launched additional unidentified short-range projectiles on August 2nd. The statement didn't mention the exact number of missiles that were fired. The missiles were launched at 2:59 a.m. and 3:23 a.m. from Yonghung in South Hanyang Province. Both landed in the Sea of Japan. This is the third time North Korea has fired projectiles in the past 8 days, according to Reuters. On July 25th, North Korea launched 2 short-range ballistic missiles identified as KN-23 off its east coast, according to the Korean Herald. The first missile flew around 430 kilometers, while the second flew around 690 kilometers. Both flew at an estimated altitude of 50 kilometers before landing in the Sea of Japan. On July 31st, North Korea fired 2 more unidentified ballistic missiles from its eastern port of Wonsan. According to the Korea Times, both of the missiles were estimated to have flown around 250 kilometers at an approximate altitude of 30 kilometers before landing in the Sea of Japan. South Korea's Joint Chiefs of Staff said they are monitoring the situation and are maintaining a readiness posture. North Korea had stated that the missile launches are intended as a warning to South Korea over its joint military exercises with the U.S. later this month. According to Reuters, Pyongyang also said the joint military exercises could also cause a shift in its talks with the U.S. The country warned it may put an end to its freeze on nuclear and long-range missile tests that have been in place since 2017. U.S. President Donald Trump reacted by referring to the missile tests as very standard and said he would be willing to negotiate with Kim Jong-un despite the North's consecutive missile launches.
Oh dear. What a crazy world, eh?
We love you, Marcia. Yeah. Come on, get some good pictures. I am. Because you're going to be going to jail and you're never going to be getting out. Come on, get pictures. I ain't afraid of you. That's good. I'm not going to take it anymore ever since you moved in. That's good. You and a million more people. Oh, that's great. Boy, your fat belly legs look good. Can you run fast? Can you run fast? Can run as fast as you. You're going to jail for trespassing. You're going to go to jail with your son. Your tall son. You're going with your wife. Forever and ever. You're going to jail.
What's this lady on about?
I'm not scared of you. You're going to go to jail for getting me hauled off to a place like that. You're going to a place like that. It's called jail for the rest of your life. You, your wife, and son.
No, why do you do it? I have 4 heart blockages. I have fibrosis and sarcoidosis, and I need to park in a handicap spot. Why are you breaking the law? I hope they come. I'm going to stop you from going until they come. No. No.
I'm filming. What do you think I'm doing?
Why do you pay? I did pay you. Get in your car and get it. Get it. Get it. Sorry. No, I'm not getting in your car. Give me your receipt. Fine. I just gave it to you. It's right there. It's sitting on it. It's right there. Be quiet. Be quiet. Idiot. Here it is. Be quiet. Here. Do it again. Keep going, buddy. Here.
Why do people always do that?
There we go.
What if you need evidence? What if you're not in the wrong?
Yeah.
That just proves that you're in the wrong.
Yeah. You don't know what's going on here. You see him hit me? There you go. Hurry up.
It's not even on. You're not recording me. I'm not stupid.
Whatever, buddy. I got it. Never mind.
You're the one attacking a taxi driver.
No, I didn't attack the taxi.
I saw you do it.
I haven't. He shoved me, and it's on your tape.
All right.
Okay, all right. Yeah. Right out.
Thanks for the footage.
Can't recording you. It's gonna be famous.
Call 911.
Yeah, I'm calling 911.
Call.
You're not taking any.
I will. I will. You are wrong.
No, you're
Yeah,
not.
you are a danger. You are a,
You're not.
don't touch me.
Don't
Don't touch me. I don't touch
my
you.
car.
It's not your car. You didn't pay for that. Yes, but the water is not yours. You didn't pay for that.
I'm going to
I call the cops.
call the cops.
Please.
Call the cops. She's fighting me. She's hitting me.
I didn't touch you.
Yes, you
No,
are.
no.
You're
No,
crazy.
I take
You're
the water.
insane.
No. You are crazy. Because you don't think about people.
I am
That the
thinking about
egoist people like you. You know, the world is a tough people like you.
You're right.
Don't think about nobody. Just
Okay.
you.
Okay.
Selfish.
Okay. I am.
Yeah, I'll ask him to get off the bike right now. Thanks. Hello? Can you get off the bike?
Yeah, there's a guy trying to attack Don.
Ask you to get off the bike?
That's his dad. Yeah, he'll be home. I don't know. There's a guy here. He came up trying to attack Ty. I don't know.
Attack?
He called me retarded.
At the Walmart. He said, "You think I care about this job?"
Don't get the name wrong.
It's Tim.
Yeah, don't get the name wrong.
Hey, what's your last name?
Can you get off the bike?
If you tell me your last name.
This is none of your business. Have a good night,
It's
sir.
his dad. This kid's 16 and you want to run up and call him a retard.
What are you talking about?
If you
I
had
told
this,
you can't ride the bikes around the store.
He's probably had this excuse his whole life. What are you talking about? Sir, he came
Are you
up,
going to
called
purchase
him
a bike?
retarded.
I can help you up front if you want to purchase a
I
bike.
didn't know your name was Timmy, or Tim. My little cousin, his name is Timmy. I was going to buy him the bicycle.
Thank you for getting off the bike.
Hello?
My plane ticket. I'm not doing this plane. I'm going to make an international incident. I paid for everything here. I did not do anything wrong. No, I'm not going to go. You want to drag me by the feet like you guys did the Asian people? No, I am not leaving. I just want to go to Cleveland. That's it. So don't discriminate against me or anything like that. No. It's okay. I don't need to be discriminated like that. Ever. You don't know who I am. You don't know my connections or whatever. I'm just trying to go to Cleveland. You know what? If I have to go to Newark, you know what? No, that guy is a No. You drag me out my feet, that's fine. I will never come out and talk to you. Just take me to Cleveland. That's all I'm asking. we didn't want to go somewhere really fast. It's not my fault. But United Airlines stopped so much today.
Keep talking.
Keep talking, you ain't paying for.
I'm paying taxes
Are you
here.
paying taxes?
I'm paying my rent. I pay my student. Why are you trying to like me?
Because you're a victim. You don't belong here.
No, I don't belong.
Yes, so what?
I'm just
You
listening.
don't belong here.
But what's the problem with that?
That's because you're an immigrant and you were born in different
But
countries.
why? I don't steal nothing. I'm paying taxes. Yeah, I'm paying. What do you think about that? What's your problem? What problem? What's your problem? What's your problem? Yeah. What's your problem? You tell me. Yeah, what's your problem?
Crazy people, man.
You ran around and you're recording. You're real smart. You guys are trash. Anyway, trash. I don't think McDonald's Corporation is going to appreciate your behavior. I've been perfectly fine. I haven't been doing anything. You insulted that lady. You insulted the lady. You told her she smoked crack. That was the first thing. Yes, you did. You said I do too. You got into it with her. I didn't get into it. I said you should apologize. I said that your behavior was uncalled for and you should apologize. No, I apologized to her. No, and then you told me I smoked crack.
Mate,
now, first of all,
fucking seen it rough at the end, mate.
not manager behavior. It's not even normal.
There's a lot of people like this in the world that don't know what they're doing, and there's people that do, and there's people that wind you up. This is what these type of videos are.
And we will see you go bye-bye. This is going viral, too. It will. No, you look like
I don't know.
I don't need a boyfriend for one. I can provide on my own. Never had a boyfriend. Don't need one. What, you want to be my boyfriend? No. I don't want to tell that. I'm busy. He was horrible to your wife. Just horrible. She didn't do anything wrong. She walked away, and he's like, go smoke some crack.
This is the holy time of everything. This crazy world of just everybody just seem to be doing what they want to do. It's okay doing what you want to do in the world, but you can't upset other people. Craziness. In deep thought every day. I'm in very deep thought, as you guys can understand. Ah, interesting. A new planet.
What was once considered pure fantasy in movies like Avatar
Avatar's a good film.
is now looking a little more plausible.
I'll have to watch that Avatar film again.
Earlier this week, NASA announced the discovery of a possible Earth-like planet located just 31 light years away, a hop, skip, and a jump in cosmic terms, that may be able to support life.
I think it's an amazing discovery. We have this small mission called TESS that's scanning the whole sky for the brightest and closest objects to find planets like ours, and this is the first one.
Well, there's loads of planets in the solar system.
J357d is 6 times larger than Earth. It orbits a dwarf star with 2 other previously unknown planets. This potential super-Earth is located within the outer edge of its star's habitable zone, where it receives about the same amount of stellar energy as Mars does from the Sun. If this planet has a dense atmosphere, it could trap enough heat to allow for liquid water on its surface.
You have a huge planet, basically a chubby cousin, if you will. Then you'd expect there to be a lot of atmosphere, and that atmosphere again could capture that heat and make it warm enough for there to be liquid water.
This amazing discovery was made possible by NASA's Training Exoplanet Survey Satellite, or TESS for short. But that spacecraft just went
If you guys like anything to do with space, this would be your kind of video. But I'll put a mixture of videos in this one video, what I'm doing here.
Just like here on Earth. And tests actually will continue to go in 2022, so who knows what else?
A super Earth only takes 31 years to get there.
No problem.
Interesting. Found a super Earth. Interesting. There's one video I did see which was very interesting. A second time lucky for Frenchmen to attempt to England to France on a hover thing. I'll show you. Pretty clever piece of machinery, nice. Lots of people are filming it as well. Helicopter in the sky as well, boat in the water. 2 boats. On the sea. Ferry. Or 3 boats. He reaches his destination from that, like a jetpack sort of thing. Two helicopters in the sky. Craziness. Oh man. I'm in very deep thought with this video. Extremely deep, in deep thought. Most people get like that. Just trying to see what else I can find to film and put on here, but I think I've probably done most of what I've got to have done today. I'll catch you in the next broadcast, guys. Thank you for joining me, and hope you all have fun. And I'm still wearing this tag, Wolfenstein game, with the wristband of Army. I'll see you in the next one. Take it easy, guys, and peace. See Army.